point. Hey runner, stop your scroll real quick. I have a question for you. Do you feel like your hip flexors are always nagging and tight, especially as we're getting into higher mileage season and you've been doing these stretches? Well, let me show you. You've probably seen this one. Are you doing this one? Maybe even adding a little bit extra with this one? Maybe that one? Or maybe even something like that. So I know if you've been doing all those stretches, you feel like you've tried everything, and you're wondering why you're doing all the right things, but you're not getting the results you want, you're getting frustrated. Let me tell you why, and let me show you some alternatives you can be doing. Let me be honest, if you're here for the exercises, you're gonna wanna skip a little bit more into the video. But if you wanna actually understand why your body is doing what it's doing and why your hip flexor stretches aren't working, even though you're doing them repeatedly, maybe every day, religiously, 5 minutes a day, whatever you're doing, then we're gonna talk about that right now. So, big fancy physical therapy word as to why you're probably not seeing the loosened, relaxed hip flexor results that you're looking for is something called reciprocal inhibition. Let's break down this big word. So there's different kinds of muscle relationships in our body, and that is what reciprocal inhibition is. Case in point, let's make it easy. Bicep curl. You contract, you do the bicep curl, your bicep contracts, there's a big ball of muscle. What has to happen though is that the opposite muscle, the tricep here, has to relax. You have the same relationship in other places in your body. And this is the exact same pattern or relationship your hip flexor, the front of your leg, has with your glute back here. So what's happening is you are stretching and stretching and stretching this front muscle. But as you try to stretch and lengthen and relax this muscle, its counterpart, your glute, it is kind of hanging out there. It doesn't know what to do. And because your glute is not contracting, it's not strong, the message is getting lost in translation. Let me explain. Your hip flexor thinks that it needs to stay tight because that glute muscle is not activated. So that is why it can actually end up being very painful because it is staying very tight, or it is staying very tight. And it's staying tight because it's trying to protect you. A better way to actually relax and loosen and relieve tightness or pain in the front of your hip and those hip flexors is to go to the opposite partner, which is the glute. So when you activate and strengthen your glute, on top of restoring general range of motion, meaning hip joint mobility, you end up with much more effective and longer lasting, looser, happier hips. So I have some exercises. Come on, let me show you. That's track for stretching. You don't need it anymore. I want you to think about restoring motion that is in your hips. Now, your hip actually moves in 6 different directions. That is a topic for another video. But I want you to realize, I want you to remember, we're trying to get this whole hip joint moving well again. Okay, hands in each position. You're going to bring one leg up to your hand. I want you to do that 5 times on each side. Other side for reference. Boom, boom, just like that. Now, if you're feeling brave and rather mobile, you bring the other leg up, okay? What this does is essentially puts you into a squat position. Now that you've restored mobility into the hip joint, what I want you to do is to now activate that glute. The easiest exercise, I mean, if you want to hold something heavy, if you have a dumbbell, go for it. Your choice of whether you want to hold a weight or not, you just do a simple split squat. I like to start down at the bottom of my split squat. That way I get correct spacing so it doesn't turn into a lunge. Hold your weight if you actually have one. I don't. Come on up, come on down. It really is that easy. But by doing it in these steps in this order, you're getting the most out of your exercises, you're getting the most gains. Now, let's take it to the next level. Let's make it look even more like running. By the way, I'm going to apologize ahead of time if my head pops out of frame. You're just going to have to forgive me, but I have something to make up for it. I actually have a free strength guide for runners that has most of these exercises in it. All right, so I'll leave that in the description box below. You're going to start in this elongated runner's lunge position, right? Looks like I'm running here. You're going to power up through that lunge. So it almost looks like you're sprinting. All right, so now that you've seen the exercises, you know what to do. I'm going to leave all of the number related information, reps and sets, down in the description box below so I don't bore you here. What I want you to do is I want you to think about how most of those look like running and how then they will translate into running when you need them. These actually serve as a fantastic warm up before your next run. And I would actually also suggest doing them again after your run because what you want to do is you want to reset the communication between your brain and then the relationship between these two teammates. And you're going to do that the most effectively if you do it as a warm up, then your workout, and then following up as a, let's say, a cool down. That way your body knows how to use this entire circuit because your body is smart. And hopefully you'll begin to feel the improvement immediately in your run. And then, if not that first run, maybe a couple runs later in the week. If you're looking for these exercises in a nice, easy to read format where you don't have to keep scrolling through this video, I have a free strength guide for runners. I will link that in the description box below so you can go grab that because I have even more exercises and tips and tricks in there to help with your tight hips because the solution is stronger glutes. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Marie Witt. I am a practicing physical therapist. You can come hang out with me on Instagram at Dr. Wittfit. I would freaking love that. And I would also love if you subscribed to this YouTube channel so we can hang out more often. And by the way, if you have more hip flexor questions or anything like that, drop them in the comments below. I read every single comment. Don't forget to dare to train differently.